Yeah. I'm always ready when it's game time. Hustle in my blood, I'ma make mines. Where I'm trying to go, it's gonna take time. You can earn your respect, I'ma take mine. In a lane of my own, I'm in a zone.
Hello and welcome to Going the Distance, where we share stories of faith, sports, and everything in between. The NFL season is here, and we have had our share of top stories, including Antonio Brown's issue with the league not approving his helmet for use this season, deeming it outdated. The Raiders wideout lost 2 grievance hearings with the NFL regarding the use of his old helmet. Now, family, we produced a piece that highlights the process the NFL goes through to make sure the players are wearing the safest equipment they could possibly wear to reduce head injuries, especially concussions. And it is the player's choice, but there is a poster that lists, well, you know what? Here it is, one more time. NFL football. What fan doesn't love the amazing catches, runs, interceptions, and let's not forget about the hard hits? But with player injuries on the rise, the NFL has made a lot of adjustments to the game we love. Since 2002, the NFL has made roughly 50 rules changes in an effort to make the game safer.
With all the changes that the National Football League has made to make the game safer for players, some say that the game is becoming soft. But is it? Or is it that the league is making strides to secure the longevity of America's game, which starts with player protection?
Jennifer Langton is the NFL's Vice President of Health and Safety. I spoke with her about the league's Play Smart, Play Safe initiative, launched by NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to advance progress in the diagnosis, prevention, and treatment of sports-related injuries.
I focus on our engineering efforts as well as our innovation, all to make and advance health and safety for our players on the field. We work very closely with the NFLPA and the NFL and our lead engineers.
In the last 3 seasons, head injuries, specifically concussions, have been a top concern for the NFL, and rightfully so. In 2017, the total amount of concussions from preseason to postseason were a staggering 291.
When you get that information and you see that there's an incline in concussions, how do you respond to that when you're making such strides?
We did have, from the previous year, a 16% increase in concussions. We've studied every single concussion on our field for the past 3 years. That provides us the insight so that we know the speeds, the velocities, the impact sources, so we can give that to the marketplace so they can design for better helmets.
It is through that lens of data that manufacturers design and construct new and improved football helmets, which are then sent for extensive research under the direction of the NFL's chief engineer and University of Virginia professor, Dr. Jeff Crandall.
I study what's called biomechanics, which is how the body responds to forces. We do a lot of work trying to study when a concussion occurs, what are the forces, what are the motions involved, and then we bring that into a laboratory setting like you'd see here in our laboratory, where we use an impactor, which reproduces a player coming in and striking another player that would be wearing a helmet. Instead of a player, we use a crash test dummy, which is instrumented with sensors. Those sensors measure the accelerations and motions of the head from an impact. And by changing out the helmets, evaluating the helmets, we can see which ones are best able to mitigate the forces or manage the forces. So that's a measure of safety.
But that's just one way the impacts are measured. The other is virtual.
Through the computer, we can actually simulate the impact. So rather than running a physical test, you run a computer simulation where you can make hundreds or thousands of virtual prototypes, test them in a very efficient way, and really get to much better designs quicker, cheaper, and more effectively.
Most NFL fans watch games and just assume that the players are all wearing the same style helmet. Well, they're not. According to Dr. Jeff Crandall, chair of the NFL Engineer Committee, all helmets aren't created equal.
After we test the helmets, both physically and virtually, one of the things we want to do is we want to generate information for players to make informed decisions. So in conjunction with the Players Association, every year we run physical tests on any new helmets that come out, and then we rank them and put them on a poster that hangs in every locker room. So if this helmet is performing well or not well, under what conditions is it performing well or not well, which can hopefully lead them to improvements to make safer helmets.
It is the player's choice to select which helmet they wear. To date,
no helmet exists that can prevent a concussion entirely. That's why Jennifer says that educating the players on better performing equipment and safer ways to play the game is at the forefront of this initiative.
When we go back to our mission, it's to advance the health and safety of our players. And we're lucky enough working with the NFLPA that we have the best of experts that we attract to do the research, and they are independent, but the education needs to move forward, which I think that we've done a tremendous job this year. And we see that because we see 72% of players now adopting top performing helmets. That was just over 40% last year. So the education is working, but it's data-driven. So yes, concussion is an issue, but let's try to understand it, but let's try to improve it. And that is understanding the mechanism of injury so that we can make the game safer for the players and still build that excitement around it.
Okay, so here is the new list of approved and prohibited helmets for the 2019 season. Here you will see AB's old helmet, the Shut Air Advantage Pro. It falls below the line in the red prohibited section. I mean, it's not even in the yellow section. Now, there was a grace period that allowed players a certain amount of time to pick an approved helmet, but the NFL and the NFL Players Association did away with that rule after last season. So the deck was stacked against AB right off the line. But according to his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, on SiriusXM NFL Radio, he's had multiple offers on the table from various helmet companies to custom make a helmet for him and to pay him quite a bit of money. So whatever helmet he's wearing come game time, all parties win. Now, what can we take away from this? Well, let me point you to the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verses 14 through 18, where it talks about putting on the full armor of God. Sometimes we want to go through the day without taking the time to make sure we are mentally and spiritually ready. Putting on the breastplate of righteousness, shield of faith, the helmet of salvation. Without the right equipment, it's going to be hard to perform and even harder to win. So let's suit up. We'll be right back after this.
As the world watches from the outside,
it's a big diplomatic tug of war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Welcome back. The Indianapolis Colts will head into the season with a different quarterback after Andrew Luck shocked everyone when he announced his retirement after years upon years of injury, pain, and rehab. Here's a clip from one of his pressers.
Hello. This certainly isn't how I envisioned this or planned this, but I am going to retire. This is not an easy decision. Honestly, it's the hardest decision of my life. But it is the right decision for me. For the last 4 years or so, I've been in this cycle of injury, pain, rehab, injury, pain, rehab. And it's been unceasing. and unrelenting, both in season, and off season. And I felt stuck in it, and the only way I see out is to no longer play football. It's taken my joy of this game away, and this. Sorry. I've been stuck in this process. I haven't been able to live the life I want to live. Taking the joy out of this game. And after 2016, where I played in pain and was unable to regularly practice, I made a vow to myself that I would not go down that path again. I find myself in a similar situation, and the only way forward for me is to remove myself from football in this cycle that I've been in. Come to the proverbial fork in the road. And I made a vow to myself that if I ever did again, I would choose me in a sense. It's very difficult. I love this team. I love my teammates, the folks in our building, the fans, the game of football. And as part of this team, as a member of this team, and because of how I feel, I know that I am unable to pour my heart and soul into this position. Which would not only sell myself short, but the team in the end as well.
Someone asked me a question the other day. Is there any sense that you felt like Andrew is letting down the team? And the answer was an emphatic no. And why is that? Well, Colts fans know that we use a metaphor around here of climbing Mount Everest
to pass along to you at this time.
Yeah, we went season and the quest to get to the top and to win a world championship. And anyone who's made that climb knows that it requires a total commitment of the heart, complete and total commitment of the heart. And so Andrew did the right thing.
You got
it. He did the right thing for himself, and he did the right thing for the team, knowing the requirement and the commitment that's needed for the journey ahead. He did the courageous
thing. But the fans, almost, Jimmy, it sounds like some of these fans are booing as Andrew.
One last thing. I mean, we all know, as far as Andrew's concerned, make no mistake about it, we know this guy isn't done climbing mountains. He's very talented. This is just a new beginning and a new chapter for him.
Wow. Some fans were actually booing him. That's just a little bit disrespectful, considering all that he's done. But what's interesting about all of this is that it reveals how much we forget that professional athletes are people too. They aren't robots. Football is their job, and they have a right, just like the rest of us, to leave when they want. Once their legal obligations are met with the team, they can launch into whatever career they desire off the field. For Andrew, he's doing what he believes is best for him. You heard him. He says it's taken his joy for the game away. It's not a good place to be for anyone. And I love it when I hear NFL players say that football is what they do. It's not all that they are. There's so much more than what we see to them on the field. Andrew will be fine. I mean, the guy was an engineering major at Stanford studying architectural design. So I expect great things from him in the near future. Consider what it says in Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So Andrew, much respect, brother. Do your thing, man. We'll be right back after this.
Superbook fans! Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No Spur Falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back. When football is over for NFL players, what happens? Well, statistically, 78% of them experience financial distress 2 years after they retire. And that's high. But there are exceptions, like former Chicago Bears defensive end Israel Idonije, for instance. He got some wise counsel early in his career that pushed him to launch several businesses while he played, including a comic book company that's doing big things. Take a look.
Former Chicago Bears defensive end Israel Idonije spent 12 seasons in the NFL. After retiring in 2014, he has become a successful businessman. And I got a chance to catch up with him at his new restaurant in Chicago.
There he is. What's up, man? What's going on, man? What's going on, brother? Welcome. This is 1111. This is your spot. City, yeah, this is our spot. Come on in, man.
All right, brother.
Check it out.
Let's go.
So welcome, 1111 West Lake Street. This is our restaurant, 1111. So
1111.
1111.
Why did you choose that?
Well, it was the address, and then 1111 is actually it's just a really powerful number. You know, you say when you see 1111, you'll make a wish. You know,
Right.
what do you want? What are your heart's desires at that time? You make a wish. So it's really a place. It's from kind of the concept. It's wishing. It's not about wishing to be with the people that you want to be with. It's just like come to 11 with the people you love and don't wish about it. Come spend that time. And the location, this is in the West Loop of Chicago, which is an area that's on fire. And just the building is, as you'll see upstairs, I mean, it's a beautiful space.
That's good stuff. Are you ready to go upstairs and talk, man?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into it, brother. I'll follow you.
In 2009, Israel, also called Izzy, started his first business, Blessed, a company that creates and distributes pre-filled communion cups to church organizations across the country and around the world.
You started with one business, and now you have several. So I'm going to transition into...
Some of my mentors would say I should have stayed on one business. Like you are doing, what else are you doing? As I look back, what really happened was early on in my career, I had a mentor tell me it was critical to figure out life after football before I retired from the game. Because once you're done, it's just different. Even Michael Jordan said when he retired, people, they called him back still because he's Michael Jordan, but they called him back a day later. While he was playing, before he could hang up the phone, people were already calling him back. It's different when your time has moved on. And this person in particular said, Izzy, when you retire, there's gonna be a new number 71. And that's the guy that we're gonna give our sponsorship checks to. That's the guy we're gonna pay to come out to appearances. And it's just gonna be different. So before you retire, figure out life after football. And just being there, just the impact of that was like, I really have got to figure it out before I retire. So I just dove in, and some tough lessons in that journey. Even with Blessed, it was not easy.
With the success of Blessed, Izzy wanted to start another business. So he launched Athleta Comics, a comic book company that takes animation and sports to a whole new level.
So comics were always just a passion, and I think to this day, the ability or the power of narrative is so important. What you do is narrative. You tell stories that people connect with, and that connection allows them to, in some capacity, transform their lives or drive whatever they're trying to break through in their life. That's narrative, that's story. Comics are one of those things that are just phenomenal for connecting with kids, obviously, but also adults. It's whatever your message is, comics as a tool allows you to tell that story. I always felt that sports and superhero, characters that they really lived in the same universe, but no one had really told that story the right way. So this year in particular, 2007, I'm like, I'm gonna tell the origin story of athletes. Their ability in sport is actually a byproduct of this greater gift that's latent, hidden in their genes. And throughout the story, the characters, once unlocked, they have a decision to make that, you're not just an athlete. Your gift that you have within you is not just to entertain on the field or on the court. You have this greater gift that was given to you to help change lives and ultimately save the world.
And on that premise, The Protectors was born. Then in 2010, Izzy had an unprecedented idea with Monsters of Midway.
But when we come back, Israel shares how he bridged the gap between football and animation to unite a city and its fans. After this.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
CBN News, no filter, 24/7 news. Through the lens of faith, from natural disasters to breaking news in the Holy Land. We have access to stars in entertainment and to top newsmakers. We are fighting for your freedoms. CBN News, because truth matters. Become a CBN News member today.
In 2010, I pitched the Bears on bridging the comic superheroes to the real world in this concept I have called sports heroes. And the timing wasn't right then. 2017, Scott Hagel, he reached out. I was actually at practice, and he said, "Hey, I think it's time for us to do that new Monsters of the Midway comic concept." So we started working on it, and we built all of the players for the Chicago Bears as superheroes. We built this narrative around the city of Chicago wherein the new Monsters of the Midway rise up every week to defend and protect Chicago against their opponents. And we created all the opponents as these menacing characters, and it's been ridiculous.
First of all, I gotta interject here. I gotta interject. Because what you did was you brought the fans a lot closer to the players. You've made them a part of the story. Let's protect the city of Chicago together. That kind of thing. And no one's done that before.
Yeah, it was one of those things when we knew the schedule release was going to be the first time the world saw it. And when we knew the release was coming, I mean, we were all on pins and needles because no one, like you said, no one's really done it like we did. Just committing to narrative around a story, a season, a team, a city. And I mean, it won top 5 schedule release NFL. I mean, everybody went nuts. My phone exploded. Like, hey, that comic thing is off the charts. The Chicago Bears, they're like traditional, historic. This is out of something that they would usually do. Again, glory to God. I'm thankful. I believed in it. I'm thankful that the team believed in it and gave me that approval. You know, and I'm just really honored and thankful that we've been able to represent the team and the players in a way that the city has been able to enjoy.
After the success of Monsters of Midway and The Protectors, Izzy took his entrepreneurial swagger a bit further when he began writing a children's book series.
It was ultimately, I had done The Protectors. And, you know, in sequence, my sister had, at the time, 2 little girls. And The Protectors it's you know, this epic kind of cosmic hero story. But for 1, you know, 1.5, 2, a little too advanced. So when I sat down, I was like, you know, I want to create a universe for my nieces and just for early readers. And when I thought about what I wanted the messaging to be, you know, I truly believe that love as just a core belief is a solution for a lot of the things that our world are, you know, the issues that our world, that we go through.
So, okay, so I have your books here.
Yeah.
God Made Me, and God Made Football.
Yeah.
You also have one for boys. It's not just for girls.
Yeah.
You have one for boys. So this character here.
That's Lil Izzy, yeah.
Lil Izzy, okay. All right, so if I go through here, what part, I want you to read, Little Izzy. What part do you want to read?
So just, you know, God made me a special kid with lots of gifts for all the world to see. You know, from head to toe, my light will glow bright and beautifully. Just, you know, again, we created the book so it was sensory focused for kids as well. Bright colors, they could see the butterflies, and they, again, when I read it to kids, like, all right, count the butterflies, count the bees, you know, what color is this? You know, just as many other academic layers that we could add to it is really where we wanted to be. We wanted this, to be a great book, but to also give the parent or the reader the opportunity to layer in other opportunities for the kids.
Wow,
you know,
that's great, man.
God made my nose. It helps me breathe the fresh, clean air and summer breeze. God made my hands, my fingers hold the hands of those I love the most. God made my mouth, I shout and say, I'm thankful for another day. God made my ears, they help me hear my friends talking far and near.
Wow. Israel is my dude. I love all that he's doing for the community. So innovative. I mean, God is amazing, and that he'll have you in one area, and just when you thought it couldn't get better, he'll shift you into something bigger and better. So I want to leave you with this passage from Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Be sure to tune in next week for more stories of faith, sports, and everything in between. And remember, life is short. Go the distance. See you next time.